All right.
So I'm watching this show, which I recommend. It's on HBO Max. It's called Julia. It's a series about Julia Child. And,
Oh, yeah.
You know, her development and this kind of stuff. And as I'm watching this, I realize, you know, she even says in the series, I'm not a chef, you know, and I mean, the show that she created in the book she wrote was called The French Chef. She's like, I'm not French, I'm not a chef. But what she really was a small business owner. And we've talked about like problem solving. We just did an episode called Having a Problem Solving Mindset.
Yeah.
And she had to solve this problem that I was just very impressed with, and I wanted to, you know, share it here and just kind of call it out. So when she was trying to get, you know, the show on, and she went on, you know, as on a different public television show and was very popular, and she's like, oh, let's do our own show. We'll do a pilot. And these people at this public TV network were not really keen on it. And so she just said, oh, well, hey, what's the big problem? It's like, well, we just don't have the money in our budget and this kind of thing. And she just says, well, how much is it going to cost? And it was, you know, I don't know, some number, not very expensive, but she says, great, I'll pay for it.
Oh,
you know, and this was like in the 60s or something. And they kind of looked at her and she says, yeah, I'll write a check and I'll pay for the pilot and we'll see how it works. So pilot went, everything, you know, it did really well. But there's still this massive resistance because on this back then, I guess public television was way more educational, and things. And then she sits down and the pilot's great. Okay, we're going to do this thing. They present it, but it needs a pretty significant budget. And again, these guys use this tactic and say, you know, we just can't do the show because they don't want to do it.
Because they don't want to do it. Right.
Yeah. They don't think it's going to work. They don't think their people are going to be interested. And she says, well, okay, we don't have it in your budget. And she just asked that question again. She's like, well, how much is it going to cost? And they gave her this number, and it was significant. And she's like, well, I'll pay for it. I'll cover the cost.
I'll cover it.
And she doesn't have a lot of money. I mean, you know, and so that part of it, just looking at things from another angle of how to solve it, I just want to call that out. But the other thing I want to call out is it just reaffirmed, I had this concept that I never worry about the money. If the deal or the opportunity is good enough, the money will follow. And if the deal or the opportunity or the idea isn't good enough, you won't be able to get the money. So if, you know,
that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. I eliminate the money problem because that's how, when I started buying things and doing things, people were like, oh, we don't have the money to buy all that. And I was like, well, if it's a good enough deal, shouldn't we be able to get the money?
I got you. That's it. Right? This is interesting because if you watch Howard Stern's Private Parts, right, which was the documentary that he did, one of the things he has said and how he got his career off the ground is he said, I made the decision to never invest my own money. If I couldn't convince people that what I was going to do was going to work, then it probably wasn't going to work. He had the completely opposite approach. It was, you know, if I can't convince you to spend money on this, then how am I going to convince people to listen to this? Right now, that's not.
Well, it's kind of the same idea. Right?
It is, but it's like it's upside down, right? Like it's two sides of the same coin. But this is, she just believed that this was going to be good, whereas Howard proved that it was going to be. I mean, they both proved it was going to be good because it worked.
She didn't have the money.
She didn't.
That's the point. She didn't have any money.
I see. So she wasn't okay. When you said she didn't have very much money, I thought she was spending everything she had. She went and raised the money elsewhere.
Well, she spent it. She spent all her own money to do the pilot.
Got it.
She was just, everybody loved it, but these kind of traditional producers on these things, they just weren't having any of it.
Yeah.
And so to get over that obstacle, she just had to do something, you know, astounding and to say, well, I'll just pay for it. And here was she was an author, but it was a cookbook. And these guys just kind of really looked, they didn't hold her in high regard, let's say.
Sure.
For her business acumen. But it turned out she was a fabulous businesswoman.
Interesting.
And obviously wildly successful.
Obviously, yes.
And so I just thought, you know, just keeping that problem-solving mindset all the time. And, you know, it's kind of hyperbole, but don't worry about the money. You'll figure it out.
You'll figure out the money. No, it's true.
If the product, if the deal is good enough, you'll figure out the money. The hardest part in my career of, buying and selling and being a merchant, the hardest part has always been finding the deal.
Yeah.
So if you found the deal, you sure enough could find the money. And I always used to make, people would call me and they say, well, what should we do this? Should we buy it? And I'm like, I would always say, buy it all. Let's buy it all,
Yeah.
And it's a little harder. You can't do that quite as much as you used to be able to. But,
no, well, not in.
But it works.
I mean, it depends on the venue.
Depends on the product.
Yeah, exactly.
What it is,
yeah,
the deal, all this stuff. So I thought it was worth sharing.
Yeah.
Again, I highly recommend it if you have HBO Max. Watch it, and it's a really good telling of this story.
Yeah. No. Okay. All right. It's on my list now. And hopefully it's on yours out there, folks, too. If there's ever a show that you folks are watching that you think has good business lessons, either good business lessons to follow or not to follow, let us know. Feedback@businessshow.co. There's a lot to be learned from. I mean, this is a docudrama series, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's mostly historically accurate. Those sorts of things. And there's obviously we're big fans of documentaries here. We just spent 2 episodes talking about them last month. But whether it's a documentary or even just a work of fiction, if there's good lessons, let us know. Feedback@businessshow.co. We'd love to hear from you about it.